The Deathly Silence Rosemary Timperley. He sits there, reading. The book lies open on the table before him. At regular intervals he turns the page. Nothing distracts him. He has not spoken to me for weeks, not one word. I hate him. When first we were married, and he imposed these silences on the house, I would question him. What's the matter? Why aren't you speaking to me? What have I done? Then, foolishly, I would start guessing. Is it that I mended your socks with the wrong colour wool? Or that I forgot to buy the marmalade? Or that your breakfast egg was overcooked? Or my list of sins and omissions as a wife was endless. I admit, but he'd never say which sin he was talking about. So I stopped guessing and learned to stay silent myself. The silences grew longer, with shorter intervals in between each. This latest one, I've lost count of its duration. It seems unbreakable. The longer it gets, the stronger it gets. And why? I can only conclude that he simply regrets marrying the vast accumulation of faults which constitutes me. So he's pretending to himself that he hasn't, apart from accepting my services, albeit rather incompetent. He pretends I'm not there. I suppose I could leave him. Many women would. But I'm religious. At our wedding, I promised God I'd stick to my husband till death do us part, and breaking a promise to God is very dodgy. You never know what he might do to get his own back. So there we are, night after night. He returns from work, has some supper, then sits at that table reading. What does he read? Anything. Thrillers, biographies, travel books, as long as it's print. He removes himself from my presence mentally by absorbing himself in print. The other night I thought, if only he really did remove himself from my presence. For the very sight of him sitting there was beginning to fill me with impotent rage. I wanted to bash him on the head with the frying pan, but I didn't. I controlled such impulses, buried them inside me, let them boil, stew, bubble, ferment. I became full of mental poison. It was thinking of this mental poison that turned my mind to real poison. Women had poisoned their husbands before now and got away with it. They must have done, or we'd have heard more about them. Hundreds of them, surely thousands, and anything they could do. Ideas are powerful creatures. However often you dismiss them, they come back. This particular idea came back again and again, then stayed for good, and developed a mind of its own. It inhabited me. It even spoke inside my head, in a silent but perfectly articulated voice, heard with some inner ear. It said, if he died, you would be alone and free. You would get a widow's pension and be merry. You could even import a talking man if you felt like it. Wouldn't it be lovely? You take my advice. Go ahead and poison him. Apart from anything else, it was nice to be talked to again, even by an articulate idea sitting in one's own head. Dare I said to it silently, and it silently answered, you can dare anything with me here. That's why I've come. It'll be easy. You can use your own stuff. My own stuff was sedative tablets prescribed for me by the doctor some time ago, when his silence had been getting on my nerves. before I'd grown accustomed to them. I'd taken a few and kept the rest, the way people do. It was as if my unconscious had been preparing me for the coming of the idea, for here I was, fully equipped to kill. It seemed almost too easy to be true. You know, men who are bloody to their wives take a great risk, since it's usually the wife who prepares the food. Does it never cross their tiny minds that the wife is often alone, and that food before she bears it on a dish to her lord and master? Great men and nervous men have special food tasters that have first nibble, or they try it on the dog. But most men go blithely on, eating whatever the wife provides, yet never bothering to keep on the right side of her. It would never cross his mind that I would poison him. Moroccan women are said to stuff their men's food with aphrodisiacs, a slice from a donkey's ear being a particularly potent charm to excite husbandly love. But I don't want his love, thank you. I have enough of that. You can call his occasional nighttime acrobatics love. The silence, the violence, he can make love with that. The bedroom fills with a miasma of evil particles, invisible, intangible, but inhaled. Poison gas. It makes me feel as if I can't breathe properly. If he were dead, I could breathe freely again. If he were dead, I could walk into his house without every nerve vibrating to the tension of the atmosphere. The mere idea of his death has a wonderfully tranquilizing effect on me. And what is an idea, for if not to be acted upon? Exactly, says the idea. You act upon me. Use your stuff. Of course, I could use my stuff to kill myself, but I'd much rather get rid of him than me. It would be too galling to think of him still sitting here afterwards reading while I went through the unpleasant process of dying. I can just picture him behaving beautifully at my funeral, then coming home, heaving a sigh of relief, and getting on with the latest book. No, suicide is out. That would be his victory. Murder will be mine. Murder. How interesting and dramatic it sounds. Only other people commit murder. When I've done it, I shall be one of the other people. Then I suppose everyone else will be other people instead. A grand change around. When I'm one of them, we'll become yous, and what's now yous will be them. I wonder what it will be like. Will veils fall from my eyes, so that I shall be able to identify other murderers at a glance, by some secret sign of identity that only killers know? A look in the eyes, a way of moving or speaking, so that they recognise each other, like those weird men called masons. Perhaps I'll be able to go for a walk and pick out murderers, the way young men go for walks and say they can pick out virgins. But I'm getting too far ahead. Fatal to waste thought on the delights of victory before the battle. Yet I'm feeling so marvellous with these thoughts in my head, I've got hope again. That's what it is. I'd forgotten how it felt. Look at him, sitting there, reading, and thinking me so downcast and downtrodden, when all the time he's reading himself into his grave, or into the fire. Yes, cremation, I think. I don't fancy the idea of him lounging about under a few feet of earth, reading. If he goes up in smoke, there'll be none of that. He'll be nothing but a nothing, not a thing at all, not even worth a worm's glance. Suddenly he's looking at me. Hell, I hope there is no such thing as telepathy, if he's reading my mind. No, my mistake. He's not looking at me, but through me. He's a dab hand at that. He was looking at the clock, and my head is right in front of the clock face. He sees through my head, as if it weren't there, or as if I were a ghost. You wait, my lad. It's you who will be the ghost. I'll bet they don't have any books in hell either. What will you do with yourself? But I'm getting ahead again. I mustn't count my chickens. I have to carry out the killing first. And I'm having second thoughts about poisoning his food. He tends to leave a lot of food, just to be nasty to me. My guess is that he feeds himself to bursting when he's out so that he won't be hungry when he comes in. Then he can put on that air of distaste when he faces what I have given him, and he can leave most of it, without a word, of course. Drink will be a better poison base for Loverboy. His whiskey nightcap. He swallows it down in one gulp, the way a Russian knocks back vodka. No time to taste anything, but the effect is boing. So that's settled. I'll mince up my tablets into finest powder and put them in a nightcap one evening. Which evening? A shiver goes through me. Don't start funking it, says the voice in my head. I'm not, but I want to play fair. The condemned man should have a last chance. How can he, without your telling him what you're up to? I'll tell him if he speaks to me. That will be fair enough. But if he doesn't speak, why should I tell him anything? I know. I'll give him 2 weeks. If he speaks to me even once during the next 2 weeks, I'll remit the death sentence. I can't play fairer than that. If he speaks to me before the night of today fortnight, then he shall live. 2 weeks. Slowly they pass, silently. I'm in a weird state, seesawing between hope and dread. It's ironical. I'm going to kill him because he made me hate him by not speaking to me, yet now I don't want him to speak because if he does, I shan't be able to kill him. If he suddenly speaks on the last day of this fortnight, I think I'll go mad. The last day. Silent breakfast. Good. Keep it up. Out he goes. Long hours passing, waiting. Back he comes. Silent supper. Most of food left on plate. And now, in dead silence, he sits there, reading. Now it is time for his nightcap. Silently, I prepare it for him as usual, only not as usual. I slip the drug into the glass. I place it beside him. He doesn't look up. He goes on reading. Supposing he'd said thank you. Wouldn't that have been frustrating? I'd have had to whip the glass away and pretend to drop it. Wait, yes, he's getting up. He picks up the glass and swallows the drink in one gulp, then plods over to the door. He's going to bed. Suddenly he stops in the doorway and turns round. Thank you, he says. Too late. He goes on up to bed. What shall I do now? There's a sense of anticlimax. And is that all feeling? By morning he will be dead. I shall never again have to see him sitting on that damned table reading. He's left his current book open on the table, ready to continue reading over breakfast tomorrow. I never dare touch his books when he leaves them like that. Once, long ago, during a spell when he was speaking to me, he flew into a violent rage when I moved a book, so I never moved one again. Well, I can move it now or tomorrow. And suddenly it hits me. I don't know what. It's not a physical blow, yet it feels like one. I'm struck by an intangible force of horror, and a voice in my head is silently bellowing, "What have you done? What have I done? Oh God, what have I done? I wasn't myself, I was mad, possessed. I'm not a murderess. I'm not those other people who commit crimes. It's me. What have I done?" I hear him cough. There's still time. I rush up the stairs to the bedroom. Don't go to bed, don't lie down. You've got to make yourself sick. You must drink salt and water. I poisoned your drink with my stuff. I haven't been taking it myself. I would have done. It was supposed to keep me normal. You must be sick or you'll die, please. I'm in the bedroom, standing there, shouting at him. I see myself in the long mirror. I look insane. He ignores me completely, but he looks smug. He's been aiming to drive me mad so he can have me put away, and now he thinks he's won, and he's gone back to not speaking. That thank you must have been a mistake. He must have forgotten it was me there, and was thinking that a barmaid had served his drink. He was thanking her, for it's only me he not speaks to. He's quite chatty with other people. I know I'm mad, I say, and that's why you must believe me when I say I've killed you. I put poison in your nightcap. You've got to sick it up. I'll fetch you an emetic. I dash down to the kitchen and prepare the salt and water mixture. I come back with it. Please drink it, please. I don't want to be a murderess after all. I only thought I did. He's in bed already, sitting up. I thrust the glass into his hand. He drops it, as if he doesn't really exist any more than I do. It smashes. The liquid is spilled, the lifesaver seeping hopelessly into the bedside rug. You fool! You'll die if you don't believe me. I tear down to the kitchen for another emetic. But by the time I'm back with it, he has lain down and is asleep, snoring strangely. I shake him, but he won't wake. He'll never wake up again unless I can get help. The doctor! Ring the doctor! What to say? Sorry to bother you, doctor, but I've just murdered my husband, and he's not quite dead yet. He won't believe me. Worse, he will believe me. There'll be a court case, attempted murder, no provocation. All her husband did was not speak. Some old judge. Many a wife would be grateful for such reticence, and I gather this unfortunate man reads books. A worthy occupation, surely. Egg-headed instead of square-eyed, eh? Chuckle, chuckle. No, I can find no justification for the conduct of this evil woman. I must lie. Telephone. Dial. Doctor? Oh, doctor, hello. It's my husband. He's been rather depressed lately, and I think he's taken an overdose. I don't like the look of him. The understatement of the year. I heartily loathe the look of him, but I don't want to be a murderess. The doctor? I'll come around. And the doctor comes round, but he does not. He is dead. Everyone is so sorry for me. Tragic, they say, that my poor dear husband should have taken his own life. Some secret sorrow, perhaps, or the stress of modern life and all that. A shadow of suspicion in some eyes. Not suspicion of what really happened, but the look that anyone receives who has lived with a suicide. Such a chatty, friendly man he was. They imply, surely I could have kept him happy enough to stay alive. But I don't care. I've changed. I panicked at the thought of being a murderess. Went quite round the bend for a while as that black gale of horror blew all about me. I behaved like a real nut, taking all that trouble to do him in, and then trying to save him. Farcical. It was like a farce. All that haring up and down the stairs with glasses of salt and water. Thank goodness he didn't believe me, for now that I am a murderess, I've settled for it and I feel fine. I'm other people, and there are even more of us than I suspected before. I see them in all sorts of ordinary places. The supermarket, the bus queue, the underground, even the post office. Yes, I saw a murderess, middle-aged and wearing a boat hat, collecting her widow's pension while I was collecting mine. We knew immediately that we belonged to the same club. She winked at me and I winked back. And what of guilt? Shouldn't I be having a touch of the Lady Macbeth? Not at all. I don't feel guilty. I gave him a fair chance. I even tried to save him after he'd dug his own grave, or lighted his own pyre, rather. For today he has been cremated. Gone for all eternity. Every dead, silent particle of him scattered over some defenceless roses. A sensation of utter bliss came over me as I walked from the crematorium and returned to the house, my house now. On a wave of well-being, I flung open the front door. Then I stopped. The atmosphere felt strange, like in the old days, that feeling of tension, the poison gas catching my breath. Nonsense. Imagination. But I didn't imagine what I saw in the living room. One of his books lying open on the table, exactly in the place where he used to sit and read. No, it can't be true. He's not still sitting there reading. As I stand, staring in the dead, still room, a page turns.